Now, there can't be many people who go to art school and end up identifying bodies in crime and disaster scenes, but my next guest did do exactly that. She's combined her two passions of jewellery design and problem solving to become the world's only known forensic jeweller. She's went to Dingwall Academy, currently based at Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art and Design in Dundee. Maria Maclennan. Good morning to you, Maria.
Good morning, Kaye. Hi.
Hi, thank you very much for joining us.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I had never ever heard of this job description before, a forensic jeweller. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, I mean, the chances of you having heard of it are probably quite slim because, in all honesty, I kind of made it up a little bit. Yeah, I guess forensic jewellery in a complete nutshell is my PhD research, and it looks to explore the potential of jewellery and items of jewellery to help identify the deceased, mainly in disaster and mass fatality situations, but also in homicide, crime, and other areas like that.
And how did you come to make this up?
It was a little bit serendipitous, a little bit of a happy accident, if you like. As you say, I studied at jewellery design at Duncan of Jordanstone, Eden, Dundee, originally. So my background is very much as a jeweller, as a designer. I don't have a forensic or a policing background, but I carried on and studied a master's, and through my master's research, I worked collaboratively with the Centre for Anatomy and Human Identification, also at Dundee University. And I worked as part of a group of interdisciplinary designers, forensic anthropologists, police officers, and we looked to try to, as part of a larger project, design a classification system for jewellery, which would help try and streamline the way jewellery is described after a disaster, in the hope that jewellery items could be more effectively help to identify victims. And yeah, I think I became so fascinated with the area. It really opened up my way of thinking to jewellery and the human body in terms of identity in a way I just never thought about. And it somehow seemed actually quite obvious and quite apparent to me that a kind of common art form that the majority of us all wear in some way, shape or form, such as jewellery, could be perhaps used in terms of trying to establish identity.
So can you give us an example of how it works then?
So in a sense, there is no standardised procedure or protocol at the moment. So what my research has looked to do is to try and explore the potential of jewellery and what it may or may not have the potential to contribute to the area of forensics. In a mass fatality situation, though, there are inevitably hundreds, sometimes tens of thousands of items recovered in amongst the debris, and jewellery in particular can often withstand extreme environments such as building collapses, submergence in water, or particularly the temperatures of fires. So one thing that we would look to do is try to examine a piece and perhaps its hallmarks, any engravings or inscriptions that might be present, any photographs that might be in lockets, or any quite distinctive characteristics or idiosyncrasies of a piece, in the hope that they're distinctive enough that we could match them with either what a family member has told us about what their loved one was wearing, or perhaps to, if not identify the individual themselves, but at least be able to link that piece back to maybe being able to return it to the family in kind of repatriation processes.
And I mean, you have worked on real cases, haven't you?
I have, yeah, from time to time when there's a need, I will get deployed overseas. I have also sort of had my advice sought by both local kind of police forces in Scotland here and more independent investigators, as and when either a body is recovered with jewellery, or perhaps there's an item of jewellery that they think might be linked in a criminal case in some way, not necessarily human identification either, just in jewellery heists or thefts or other crimes. So yeah, certainly I have been approached on a number of occasions.
I mean, so someone from an arts background, design background, is taking into a completely different field. I mean, most people's thoughts around forensics sort of come from CSI and shows like that, and it can be pretty grisly and gruesome. That's a big leap for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am nearly every other week I'm in some way outside of my comfort zone, and it has been a complete learning curve, and I think that's one of the things about undertaking research in general, and certainly doing a PhD, is you want to make a new and original contribution to knowledge, and this field is kind of non-existent. I am trying to explore it and scope what's possible, so in terms of that, it certainly is new and original, but
and how do you personally cope with the grislier side of things?
To be completely honest, I have kind of seen and been experienced and exposed to things that have shocked me, that have upset me, that have surprised me, but also things that, I've worked with so many people, and it's such a humbling sort of industry, as it were, to be involved in, to know that these experts and these professionals, they do such wonderful work to try and bring closure to families, to try and identify victims, and to kind of be almost welcomed in as a part of that. I've had a really warm reception from the police, from forensic scientists. They're really open to new ideas, new theories, new ways in which information can be applied, and I think you kind of just get on with it. You recognise that you do, at the end of the day, have a job to do, and yes, it can be difficult, but the reason you're there, and the ultimate aim, is that overshadows any kind of personal, emotive connections that you might have with the incident, so you can detach yourself from it and focus on the bigger picture.
I mean, I guess forensics, in its simplest form, it is a great big puzzle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Is that something that you enjoy, tackling a puzzle and very detailed work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first began the research, obviously, as you say, there's a sort of great juxtaposition between jewellery design and forensic science, and I think for two seemingly quite polarised and disparate fields, there are actually far more similarities that the two share than I first thought. And as you say, kind of becoming accustomed to looking at important tiny details that other people might miss, and not excluding anything from a case because it might have some sort of value, that's definitely something that both fields share. And I think looking at jewellery in this more forensic way and understanding its histories, its narratives, and what it means to people, that's something that we as jewellers have been fascinated with for centuries. So to be able to carry on doing that work just in a slightly different way and contribute to maybe solving that greater puzzle is really a fascinating thing to be able to do.
Do you now look at jewellery in a different way, far beyond, oh, that's lovely?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, design in general, designers in general, we are kind of tarred with a brush, whereby we make things look pretty, and we make products and objects, and things are aesthetically pleasing. And certainly I've always had an interest in jewellery beyond just the way it looks, and I've been much more interested in, why we kind of make connections with it as people, and why human beings, jewellery's got a really interesting place in the human psyche, and we do kind of confide in our jewellery more than we do with other objects, and, we have those items that we all feel a bit lost or a bit naked without, and I think this is only sort of compounded, in my mind, the fact that jewellery really does go above and beyond just other items of clothing and adornment. There is that almost extension of ourself, that jewellery is the role to play.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, for people, and I'm looking at my couple of wee rings here that have had pieces for a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose it and you're quite distraught. I mean, it really does feel that you've lost something very important, whereas, with an item of clothing, it's unusual to have that kind of emotional connection, isn't it?
Yeah, less so for sure. I think I don't know why we do it, and that's part of my research, part of a lot of other jewellery designers' research, and psychologists and archaeologists and historians. We're fascinated by gold. We have gemstones, and even the ancient Egyptians and various cultures throughout times. The ancient Egyptians buried amulets with their deceased as kind of protective artifacts, and I think we all have some sort of connection with jewellery, whether we wear it or whether it's kind of at rest at home in a drawer somewhere. There is this strange kind of other level that jewellery can take on in terms of emotion and sentimental value.
Yeah. Yeah, and clearly scientific value from your point of view.
Scientific value,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Maria, it's fascinating, fascinating stuff. A forensic jeweller. Maybe you will be a trailblazer, and we'll be hearing about courses in this in the future. Really lovely to speak to you, and very best of luck with your continuing studies on that. It is 11:20.